Because when I look at our career in farming, we were first generation farmers, and I do not think that the next generation of farmers is going to come from farm families. I think it could come from anywhere, but chances are it won't be from people who are currently living on farms, because most of us are around 60 years old anyway.
I'm Alex Ball. I own Old City Acres. We are a year-round vegetable CSA farm. I've been farming since I was 18 years old. I'm a first-generation farmer. My parents are both indoor people, but one thing they both instilled on me is that whether it's community or to the customer, they come first every single time, and you have to. And if you want to compete in this heavy competitive market, you have to put them first every single time. And that's good business, but also it's good community work. If we're putting them first, then when times come and we need help, they're always there to help us. My family has been in this area for about 4 generations now, and specifically we're in Sumter Township, which is one of the last few black land areas in Southeast Michigan, predominantly Wayne County. So I started out basically in a backyard, renting backyards from people and selling product at farmers markets. I did that for a few years, but I kept losing my land to pipelines, to bad leases. I could not find a home to finally put some roots down and grow. And really, when it comes to farming, the hardest obstacle is just find farmland, right? It's borderline impossible for young farmers or beginning farmers to even get access to that. So I kept jumping from land to land to land until finally, after 5 years of that, I was able to save up enough money to buy this small piece of property out here in Sumter and really try to get our feet on the ground and really start pushing forward on our farm business.
Alrighty, Hi, my name is John Dutcher.
And I'm Cynthia Dutcher, Cindy Dutcher.
Welcome to our farm and our humble abode, Dutcher Farms. And we've been here since 1983. We've been farming organically.
We raise blueberries and beef cattle and large market gardens, and everything's for sale on the farm but the dog, and some days the dog is too. So.
We moved here in '83 because we wanted to farm. And so we purchased a farm. And of course, our visions of what we wanted to do were a little different than what it turned out to be. We started out, we just wanted to homestead, is what we wanted. We had no visions of farming, no desire to be commercial farmers.
For independent farmers, one of the biggest barriers they face is access to land and capital to start or grow their farms. This is a problem that affects all farmers, but young, beginning, and BIPOC farmers, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, are at an even greater disadvantage due to lack of USDA support.
I think back to our first few years farming, and it was terribly lean, and we both worked full-time off the farm and farm too. And let me tell you, it was really, really hard, and I would want a better lifestyle for the next generation of farmers.
And that's the hard part I see, is that there aren't many young farmers, and those young farmers who are farming don't own land, they rent land, right? And in our society only lends power to those who own land. That's really who has control over things, right? So the less people we have owning land, being stakeholders in the communities, kind of the less power those folks will have. And if we're trying to build up new ideas and build up new generations of people, you gotta have power.
Without familial wealth or access to lines of credit, getting loans for land purchases can be a difficult barrier. It also makes it more difficult for the next generation of young farmers to get started.
One thing came radically clear is that the amount of lack of access was way worse than I ever thought it was, right? We're talking some of the few veteran farmers in the area, few Black farmers having, a horrific lack of access. People have been in industry for 40 years who are still suffering from issues that you would think a beginner farmer would still deal with because of the systems in place, right? I think that farming, land access is a very unifying issue. I work with farmers on all sides, all different backgrounds, and they all are saying the same things. They're all saying we need land access, we need property, we need access to this capital. But Again, these people saying this are those without equity, without capital. And how often do elected officials want to listen to people without equity and capital? The first barrier, the biggest barrier, is that land access, is being able to get hold of that land. And which makes that, also the biggest investment you're gonna do on the farm is that just piece of land. As all this land is changing hands, this is the time to try and allocate the resources a little bit better, to try and make a change now. But it's hard because we're at a time when interest rates are so high, and then that's 10 years, with the average farmer, with the average age like 55, 60, something like that. And the fear is that we're gonna have these people retiring, interest rates are still super high, and the only people who can really take this land on is gonna be interest groups, very large family farms, that are already been established for generations, or someone from town buying land just for an investment down the road. So it's definitely the time now to try and make these decisions, and it's definitely, I see rough waters ahead. I don't see anything calm happening in the next, next decade.
So that greed, got to get that out of there somehow. And like I told you earlier, I don't have all the answers, but I sure know things need to be changed. What we have is not working.
We've known they needed to be changed for a long time.
And it's got to come from the consumer, We have to get that consumer educated, and that's the only way it's going to change, because Congress only listens to large groups of people. So I think that the interest should be, how do we get food cheaper, less expensive, better food, less expensive, and still keep the small farmer working.
The next Farm Bill is an opportunity to address historic and present-day problems within our food systems, especially when it comes to land access for independent farmers.
I do believe that policy makes a huge difference, and I think that it's time for Congress to really take a serious look at who they're funding with the Farm Bill, and take a serious look at rural America, especially in the upper Midwest. And because these policies that they're continuing, if they keep doing the same thing, it's going to empty rural America, because there's going to be no reason to live here.
If independent farmers have better access to resources and land, we can start to build back stronger rural communities. Alex and other farmers worked together to create the Washtenaw County Black Farmers Fund, which provides easy-to-access grants to local farmers of color.
So we sat around we actually had a little Zoom meeting, and it was me and two other farmers, and we were like, we need other options. We need ways to reallocate these funds in ways that are a little more equitable, a little more accessible, especially for Black farmers, again, who made up 0.5% of the farmers in our region. So what we did was we started searching out for private funds, asking for donations, and then offering interest-free grants to farmers in the area. And we're not talking like some USDA BS where it's you talk to us for 3 months and then we'll finally give you some money. We're talking about use that information, read through it, phone call, good, check. If you have to sit around and wait for things to happen, the market moves past you, it's done, the deals are gone. You have to have the cash, boom, now ready to go. So what we were trying to do is make that capital available as quickly as possible to folks in our area.
There are programs in the Farm Bill that help underserved farmers acquire land, but these programs are drastically underfunded. We need to invest in farmers by adequately investing in these programs now, before it's too late.
I think we often get caught up in these big grand ideas when really these small local ideas have huge effects on our lives. These small things have actual consequences locally. And I think farming and funding farming can be something that can have effect on those for generations. And really that's the only way we're going to see change is through radical and quick, swift reallocation of funds. That's the only way you're gonna have change. So really I see it as a win-win-win. Everybody wins out on it. People get fresh food, people in rural areas to sell more products, and then places in the town get to sell the products, right? So it helps everybody along the way.
And consumers need to let our legislators know that we all need to have the right to choose locally produced foods, and to be sure that local food is available in your community, and that includes meat and dairy, and that takes legislative action.
When it comes to elected officials, what can they do? How can they help with these issues of land access? You know, really kind of the first lower layer things you can do is try and promote things like the Farm Credit Service.
One other reform, the Justice for Black Farmers Act, introduced by Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, would help address the institutional discrimination within the USDA and the historic land loss that Black farmers have faced.
When we're talking about food access, especially bring people together from rural and urban areas, we're both dealing with same issues, right? Food access is such a huge issue in urban areas, which is ironic because that's where food's going, and then it's a huge issue in rural areas, which is ironic that's what's being produced, right? So it's this double-head system. So even those who are able to buy land, who are able to, let's say, try and build that intergenerational wealth and establish some level of equity, get caught up in a trap, and then the surprise, their families don't want to take over an unprofitable, debt-ridden business, and then now it's gone, right? So it's definitely, the Black Farmers Fund is, we do land funds, but we also do equipment and operating funds as well, with the main goal of keeping these farms going, helping them through hard times more than other organizations will, because they have value to the community.